Hey everybody, welcome back to X's for Show, and it's a Saturday night, so we're getting into some fun and streaming. Saturday stream, all right? Saturday stream live, stream Saturday live night. Good night.
Oh, y'all.
I'm Nico Action, and I say OECTION.
And I'm TK Elemental.
And that makes me your producer, KEVO. You can find me at KEVO. I just about made it so that wouldn't cover your face. You got Wilson, so it's not too bad.
Well, I am so glad we're here. It's like my favorite thing in the world is to just kind of get on, have a good time with these fools. And I've been okay. So TK's playing Rivals tonight, but something I want to say is I was playing Rivals on a computer that was like more or less designed for like streaming and capabilities for music, and so I was playing Rivals. I was basically playing a Rivals card game compared to what it should look like. TK was kind enough to hook me up with some equipment, so I am playing Rivals like a big boy too. But tonight is all about the man with the beautiful baby shark boy.
It's baby boy shark time.
It's Sharkmas.
It's Sharksmas. Yes. I love Sharksmas. One of the things that's so much fun about fucking Jeff and Jeff mode is TK. This is the dream.
It really is. I don't even really know what to say about this because
Merry Christmas.
This is in fact what I was made for. I have played literally thousands of hours of Splatoon.
Hey, Allie.
Hey, Allie.
Hi, Allie. I'm no longer looking at chat or anything, so y'all will have to. But yeah, I have played thousands of hours of Splatoon. I have made NICO play hundreds of hours of Splatoon.
I've truly logged hundreds of hours.
And I really didn't think about it until this mode came up. But yeah, this is totally feasible and very fun. I don't even, this is just, it's like, even just playing now, I'm just like, this is a miracle that I am playing a Marvel game that has a mode inspired by my other favorite game that I started playing because I just couldn't keep playing Overwatch. I don't know. This is just the greatest thing ever. And like, to think about it commercially and seriously and not from just the silly, hilarious, awesome perspective, this is like a very simple mode. It's not particularly I guess what I'm trying to say is this makes me really hopeful for like other fun arcade modes that Marvel Rivals could do. I've been thinking, Go ahead.
A dumb Gambit game where he deals. Like,
yes.
I don't even know what else, like how else to put it, but like Gambit filming everywhere for a Gambit movie.
Yes. There are now so many, like, think of anybody's character kit that you can dream of and the ones that we have already. And there are now hilarious modes that we could do that are really low stakes to create and could just result in some fun. I don't know. Like, I really did not think about this because the only mode that we had when this came out was a team deathmatch mode, which is perfectly fun. But this one really started getting me thinking about like the appeal of silly gameplay modes for Marvel Rivals that I think are going to be maybe kind of huge because a lot of people don't even want to play casual competitive.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's like, I think they need to introduce an evil Jeff, his evil twin brother, Zeph, and Zeph's mode needs to basically be WarioWare. And whatever version of that you can do on this. But like, I think one of the things that this pointed out to me is how dexterous, and like obviously it can't be WarioWare, but and they also won't create Zeph. But I think this proves the dexterity of the gameplay, of the map style, of the functionality. It also reminds me that people suck and they will just sit and just camp out on Respawn and just hunt you down like a little baby, little Bambi mama, and just shoot you like a hunter.
But to your point about like a Zeph, like that literally is just a skin. Like they could just create another skin for Jeff and then do another mode. There's just so much that they can do, and we've been so focused on the fact that the basic functionality for this game could relieve some of the kind of sadness and misery from how Overwatch disappointed the hero shooter crowd, that like I really was not even thinking about all the unique ways that casual play could happen in this game. And it really, like, I'm actually so stoked that I was at your house when this announcement came out, because it just kind of made me happy about this game in a whole new way. Because yeah, I mean, like Gambit deals mode, sure. Like I don't even know what that would look like. We don't even have Gambit in the game yet, but like every single character that could be in Rivals now, I'm thinking about not just what is their character kit going to be, what are their in-game powers going to be, but how could those potentially lead to another game mode like this?
Well, because like when I said like Gambit, no, number one, I want to say Ali, Left Sharkinson. Yes. Number one. That
left
is another
Sharkinson,
great
though.
Left Sharkinson.
No,
Obviously,
I'm saying left.
Yeah, and he's another Zeph.
Yeah.
So it's perfect. But like one of the things that really struck me as you were saying that is like Carol could have like cosmic charge things, and Wanda could have hex mode, and like the idea of splatooning any character now feels limitless.
Yeah. And this mode is really simple. It's not amazing. Like, I'm not blown away by the functionality, but I'm actually really blown away by how simple it is to get into a game, to get into a match here, play, have some fun, get a win or a loss. It's completely no stakes, but like, I really am enjoying it. I don't know. I just like, I really figured we'd get a lot of stupid arcade modes, and I even figured we would get like all blank character, like even all Jeff's mode, but I never thought about like turning Jeff's spray into the Splatoon style painting of the map, and what a good mode that could be. I don't even know who won here. The other guy won.
Not to faggy doodah all about it, but one of the things that I've really enjoyed this week is this outrageous Marvel Contest of Champions celebration that's going on.
Yeah.
And I call it outrageous because of all the characters they've given away. It's gifting season. This absurd Champions box thing. I don't have any keys, so it doesn't work for me just yet. But
is there any way to get them besides just absolutely destroying the objectives
and also your bank account? No,
that's what I mean. Yeah.
So I'm so excited because I love it. And I hate saying it because it sucks and I sound like a bad fan, but like I want to not do anything and get stuff when I also put into a game. Like I put in for Summoner's Sigil. I'm always doing that. And yeah, once in a while I'll be like, this month I really need a unit pack. And so like I'll get the unit monthly because that's $5 and it gives you 30 units a day for 30 days for $5. Like I'll buy in. But like when I was asked about I did the first two, thank you so much for being a player. And I love when they're like, we're basically going to spam telemarket call you, give us your opinion. They're like, but you were selected.
Yeah, they always make you try and make you feel special.
So I filled it out. But like one of the things that I was really, First of all, I give the game 4 out of 5 stars. I wished I had like 4.7 out of 5 stars because I'd give it that. I've got problems, but I have such a good time. I really don't care. Where I do care, this is the stingiest game.
No, this is the stingiest game. Marvel Rivals is the stingiest.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, no, compared to Marvel Contest of Champions.
Yes.
Which is just like paying babies out all day, left and right. This is just like hoarding. And so when I filled out the questionnaires for this, I put specifically, I'm loving everything. 4 point, I wish I gave you more out of, more than 4 stars, but like, I hate how expensive everything is. And there's nothing for free. I don't want good stuff for free. I'll take ugly shit that we make fun of for free. I want it. Give.
Yeah, I mean, I will say I'm currently not giving MCOC any money right now because there are some real problems with missed inputs on iPhone screens. And it's very clear that they're aware of this and not really doing anything to fix it. So I'm kind of mad. But other than that, I did used to give them money and I would continue to outside of that because they do give you a lot for $10 a month. It is stuff that is, they have found the right balance of, it's not pay to play. You can really get where you need to go without paying. You just might have to be a little more patient, but you can still do everything.
It kind of seems like a cleverness to do it without it. And even then, I just want to be clear with you guys. Some of the bonuses you get for Summoner Sigil are like it needs to be the real cross section of your obsessive interests. It needs to be, oh, I love Overwatch and Marvels, look, Rivals. Because it's like you get to go use a store and with a spreadsheet determine what's better, a bunch of this or a bunch of that, and trade them in a special store you paid to go torture yourself with.
Yeah, that is a very apt description. But I mean, I made huge strides at literally in 24 hours when their holiday stuff started because they gave a bunch of free stuff away. MVP. Oh, I just pulled my headphones out. I was so excited.
Yeah.
I feel bad. I keep getting MVP on this because I have played so much Splatoon. I never get MVP on this game otherwise. But if I know how to do one thing, it is spray a map in a competitive hero shooter. So sorry about it. I'm getting.
I had a
MVP
friend who lived in Brooklyn who ...
Spray 'em out.
But yeah, Marvel Rivals gives away, or sorry, Marvel Contest of Champions gives away a bunch of stuff 2 times a year minimum, like a ton of stuff, regardless of whether or not you pay for the game at all. They give a bunch of stuff away. It lets you make a bunch of progress in the game, and a lot of that progress is essentially cosmetic. It's kind of like you can get a bunch of stuff that isn't gonna change your top tier players, your top tier fighting style. You still have to be really good. You still have to put in the work, but you can get a bunch of characters that are really cool that you could then plan to spend time, not money, leveling those characters up, but they're characters you wouldn't get otherwise. And with Rivals, because they're not asking you to do anything but pay for skins, on the one hand, I get being stingy. On the other hand, I'll be very interested to see where this goes because skins are premium skins are basically $26. And that's half the cost of buying the game. If it were a console game that you bought at a Walmart, it would probably be between $50 and $60 for all the gameplay and probably no skins, and you would probably buy loot boxes for those skins. So, whatever. I don't know. Despite the fact that I'm still a little annoyed about the skin selection this early on, this mode and getting the Jeff skin and getting to play around definitely makes up for it. And I'm also reminding myself that like we're literally not a month in. 2 years from now, the amount of skins that they could have and the amount of skins that they could give away for like just play this mode or like get this many wins in a mode or do this much damage in a mode and you will get this free skin. Like that's where I got some of my favorite skins in Overwatch. I also paid for a bunch of my favorite skins in Overwatch. But even those, it took me like months into the game before I did that. What is that smile on your face?
Nothing. I'm sorry. I was distracted for a moment, but
No. I always like it. I always think you're gonna have a funny joke.
I just want to say, hey, Loveline, and I'm sure you do have a great suggestion for our channel, and we too would love to hit you up on Discord. Just say hey.
Yes.
And the other thing that this mode unlocks for me is the fact that, like, turns out this was never an Overwatch clone. Turns out this was a clone mall. And in this game clone mall, you can put multiple clone games, much like the Marvel Universe, ripping off the best of the DC Universe. I say that as the biggest Marvel zombie. The thing in me that's the biggest is the Marvel zombie. I'm not a bigger Marvel zombie than anyone else. I eat my Marvel flesh one leg at a time. Thank you. But I, as a person who is a big Marvel zombie, I do recognize the heritage that was bestowed from the distinguished competition. And so the idea that Rivals is, borrowing with grand affection the same way that the Marvel property did by utilizing elements from Overwatch, Splatoon, and I'm sure, I can only imagine more. Like, I would not be surprised if one day we opened it up and there was like legitimately the way they hid Final Fantasy 1 in Final Fantasy, I think it's 14. I would not be surprised if you could find like a Dr. Mario, a Doctor Strange hidden somewhere in this game, because why not? You're creating the opportunity to engage with a brand with popularized gameplay. If Rivals becomes a transformative multi-game property, it'll be a little bit better off, because what if Overwatches fall out of vogue? What if this is the next thing the Senate just has to ban?
A very fair question.
Yeah, that's a really important take on politics right now. What if Overwatch type shooters are the next thing? They could be.
Who watches the Overwatchers?
Oh my god, that's the real question. Alan Moore is just like lining up to write this right now.
Jake is reading his new novel and likes it very much.
And I want to trust that, but I feel like Jake can get deeper on a book than I can. I basically like, and this is so incredibly pedestrian of me, it really is, but like, I like my books to be Law and Order, Bones type procedurals, and that's because I really cannot stick with a book for more than like a Felix Castor novel or so. After that, I check out completely.
Respect.
As a kid, my favorite novels were Hunchback of Notre Dame and Gone with the Wind. And I actually stand by that. Gone with the Wind is like, it's a horrible lesson in American history, but it is, because it's horrifying, but it's certainly written with luscious poetry. So as an adult, I'm like, no one should love it that much. But I also want to say, number one, KEVO, yes, that you please mention to anybody that's asking. That's a great gift suggestion. What
is it?
A Superman hat.
Yes.
To Allie's question, did y'all do a video about the Superman trailer? Can I tell you why we didn't?
Well, for one thing, because I was I was running around the state of New Jersey, not sitting down. But also, yeah, immediately Nico and I, God, this is why we are family. I was so worried that you were going to love it. And I was going to just feel like the miserable jerk. We are an island amongst ourselves not loving this.
I don't get it.
I don't think it looks like, and I'm even almost loath to say, I don't think it looks like garbage.
No, it does not.
No,
it
not at all.
Just the way they have been talking about, I'm going back to Studio 60, where
what did the big three have to do with this? The car companies in
I'm thinking about
Eminem State. Where does Eminem's are of again?
I'm thinking about
Detroit.
She's really famous now, but in Studio 60 she is just one of the PAs, and Merritt, what's her name? In Studio 60 she's one of the PAs, and in the first episode when Matthew Perry and Bradley Whitford show up to take over the show, she goes, "Are you here to save us?" And the whole conceit is that they will fix everything that is bad about late night.
They're on a mission to civilize.
Yeah, and that they can do it. That like Amanda Peet has figured out this ingenious way to get these two brilliant people to do this thing they don't want to do, which is
she can't get the B6 shot. She's pregnant.
Which is make Saturday Night Live funny again.
But they left the page in 45-second comedy, not 60-second drama.
And in that same way, people talk about James Gunn. Like, are you here to save DC? Like, if you will just agree to do this, DC will be fine.
I do sketches. Skits are something you do in your living room at parties. Sorry,
that's Sean Gunn yelling at their parents.
What's really funny about that to me is specifically later, Nate Cordry would play a character on Mrs. Maisel who in fact did in the 1960s those sorts of skits at parties in people's living rooms. So that line, because he always loved that line, and so now it sticks out even more because then he did do that.
But yeah, I mean, like, I love James Gunn, and I think that he's really James Gunning this Superman movie, and I mean that as an insult and a compliment. Wow, we're really fucking not doing great in this one. The red wine's taking over. Everything about it felt, having seen 3 Guardians of the Galaxy movies, it felt so rote. It felt so James Gunn.
I just can't fathom how exactly he's going to Guardians of the Galaxy Superman and Clark Kent. What one-for-one character? Because, like, I can see a lot of characters in the Superman universe, even just emulating Guardians of the Galaxy style. But I don't know that I can see Clark Kent doing that. So how is that going to work? The closest I feel like we've gotten is Adam Warlock being this clueless, superpowered himbo. But who else? I can't fathom.
I think the one-to-one isn't quite like that, and has more to do with it's going to have more to do with the ethos. Like, it's even just the guitar solo revision of the Superman theme that is so his, like,
his style.
We took like whatever song from the 80s and did this like hooked on a feeling, but then we just do the banging drum.
It's the John Williams.
Somebody else's work. It's not actually doing something new. It's saying, don't we all love that feeling we get when we go to that other thing?
I can recreate this for you.
Yeah. No, I feel like by putting beginning. He's not saying I can recreate this for you. He's saying bring that to the table like me, and my film will be great.
Well, I feel like he's saying I can recreate the vibe for you.
To me, it's especially that it wasn't. I feel like it wasn't even a good version of what it was trying to be. Normally, stuff like that, I feel like they go for more mass appeal.
Yeah.
You know, when they do that sort of epic cover style, specifically in Tim Gunn trailers, like there were 2 for Guardians of the Galaxy 3. But this felt a little bit more, I don't know, hair metal. And it felt like a really weird take on, I mean, it's John fucking Williams. It was the John Williams theme.
For what it's worth, the first thing I thought was my favorite band of all time, but like not who I would choose for this film, Coheed and Cambria. It felt like a Coheed and Cambria cover of the John Williams. And also you said Tim Gunn, and
now
I
he's
think that's
the third Gunn brother. Yes.
Yeah, I'll never recover from that. It's the most amazing thing I've ever heard in my life.
Make it work.
It's the best slip of all time.
Yes. Yeah, you know, I just I was not into it when I saw it, and then NICO called it melodramatic, which is the thing that I was thinking, but I actually thought even melodramatic would be that is what it is, and it is my problem with it. But like my big concern was that it would be too Batman-y, like the Nolan and Reeves Batman, which I think are joyless and not fun and not science fiction and not camp and not anything good. And it's not that, which I appreciate, but it still is melodramatic and takes itself too seriously.
Yes.
And if it was everything and camp, I would be really into it. I would not even be really into it, but I would think it was fun and I would be laughing with it.
Sure, we did Crypto, but it is immediately the most dramatic thing you could do with Crypto.
Yep.
It is not an especially cuddly or friendly breed that is a style that we have seen Crypto in before. It is immediately a very aggressive take. And that, I think, speaks to the whole concept. Where, no, it's not Snyderverse, but it's still not Reeves, is it?
Well, and not Reeves is a selling point for me. And that's me being me. That's my particular thing. That's not a prescription for success, because the Reeves Batman was a huge success.
Well, no, the Reeves Penguin is the huge success.
Yeah. But I just, they took like stills from Grant Morrison's All-Star Superman and didn't get what people loved about them and what the point was. Like, yes, you have that amazing Quitely cover with Superman and Crypto, but the point is not just that there's a dog there.
Yeah.
And it really did feel like they were like, right, but we gave you a dog, so it's cool, right? No, there's more to it than that. Like, what Grant Morrison is able to do is take a concept like Crypto, which is not serious at all, and somehow make it mythopoeic. And nobody was like, the thing that Superman was missing is a dog. What people were shocked by was that Morrison was able to mythologize Superman in a way that made the presence of the dog feel epic. And that just is not what this was.
No.
You know, putting dinosaurs in the middle of your movie doesn't make your movie feel like an interesting take on evolution. If I one time tuned into an episode of Law and Order and they were just like, also the dinosaurs, right? You know,
we gotta worry about these dinosaurs out here.
Look, with all these Stegosauruses. And, you know,
they're not committing crimes, right? They're just wild animals.
I think they're actually stopping the crimes because the perverts can't get where they're going because the dinosaurs are in the way.
And dinosaurs eat perverts.
Yeah, well, I mean, they eat anything. So if the perverts are present,
Law and Order SVU Special Velociraptors Unit.
yes,
Well, but that's what I'm saying. They're indiscriminate, so they'll go after the perverts or the victims. That's really an issue.
Well, but I feel like the victims are like, no, I would have been a victim, but you saved me. And the Velociraptor's like, like just kind of goes the other way.
yes.
What a world we're pitching.
I mean,
Well,
but
Hagate is on board.
I will say, just sitting here shooting the shit, saying stupid stuff, like that leads to funny things and like stupid things that create the joy and the laughter and the smiles that I just feel like are missing from this Superman. Like the Superman pitch is so desperate to be, please give us a Marvel franchise, that there just is no joy.
It's also what happens when you start franchise first. I honestly think, for all that they say, this was the plan from day one. No, Iron Man was just a good time at a good movie. And, you know, there were franchise goals, but I bet if you produced that one sheet, 1/10 of it happened the way they said it would. And, you know, then Incredible Hulk was at literally a different studio, and they went back in and added the Robert Downey Jr. I didn't even realize you switched. I knew the entire time I was looking at Cloak and Dagger, and I was like, for a second, how didn't Jeff win? So I really felt like
This was really bad too.
you know, I'm so amused at the Jeff thing. I'm like, no, but like, you know, I know that when they produced the Marvel Universe, it was make good movies. Oh my God, the franchise came together, and the worst it ever got was Phase 2, which felt like a commercial for Phase 3. And then,
do you feel like that's still the case?
do I think Phase 2 is ultimately
The worst it ever
than
got?
4 or 5?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I love you. Yes, thank you. Okay, anyway, keep going.
And I think the reason for that is because 2 was so limited in its conceptual scope. It was only focused on, like,
They saw that they had legs.
yeah,
and they really tried to create a very strict zone for those legs to run on.
you know, this is XI4S After Dark. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's sort of like we've all had that.
I've
thing
had a
where,
bottle of wine and I'm playing Rivals. We're just talking about whatever.
you know, there's that thing where you're just kind of like, just to finish, you're just like, okay, it is 11:35 at night. I just got home way too late. I'm so fucking tired. But if I don't take care of this thing, there's no way I sleep. And then there's times where you're like hanging out with yourself and having a good time, right? And I feel like at any time 4 or 5 were terrible, they were still feeling themselves having a good time. Whereas 2 was like, I gotta finish this because I'm tired.
They also, by 2, they didn't, like, now it's an ecosystem. Like, you get these random directors making a Marvel movie and, like, in their style, and some of them don't work. They're not going to get a second movie. I think they all work. Like, the more weird the director is and, like, inappropriate for a film, the more I'm like, this is the best movie I've ever seen. But I get it.
I really
commercially,
felt that way about the 3rd Harry Potter movie.
yeah, Kevo, that's my favorite one, except for Goblet. It's a toss-up between that and Goblet of Fire. But Alfonso Cuarón directing a Harry Potter movie, I was like, this franchise is on fire right now. Like, not even let him direct all of them. Pick somebody as weird as Alfonso Cuarón to direct all of them from now on. And Marvel does that. Like, the existence of Eternals is weird. I get that we're not going to get another one in that same vein, but the fact that we have that one, the fact that we have Marvels, if we stopped talking about them, like the fact that each one is not a bigger success than the last one means that they're a failure, I would be really happy. Marvels is such a weird case because it's a unique production idea and team. But the reason it failed is because of the writer's strike and the fact that they could not promote the movie. If they had been able to promote the movie, they would have had a promotion cycle that rivaled Wicked, and we would have just been memeing Aman Vellani being hilarious and TikTok child, but we just didn't get that, and that's fine, whatever. But the point is, Marvel has been doing this long enough that they get to experiment and give directors a chance to play around, and DC isn't there yet because they gave up on their original thing. And James Gunn is now, rather than being given a chance to play around with being a director, is being given a chance to play around with being a Kevin Feige. And those are two really different jobs. And so Creature Commandos to me is just an absolute banger. And I'm sort of blown away by the fact that the same guy who created, wrote, showran Creature Commandos is showrunning this whole universe and creating just a really, to me, unappetizing Superman movie.
All right, so I love that as a note to move us to the next point that kind of vamps on it.
Yeah, please.
As we were talking about this, one of the things that I realized is, like, you know, you get like a random director doing you know, a movie, and it's like there's the Daredevil issue and the Star Trek episode written by Harlan Ellison. There, you know, there's things like that.
Oh wait, hold on. Did Harlan Ellison write a Daredevil issue?
The House That Ate Daredevil, yeah.
What is it?
It's an issue of Daredevil. It's a bonkers issue of Daredevil.
Is it
in the early 200s between Miller runs?
Is it sci-fi
ish? It's just weird. It's sci-fi and fantasy and kind of odd and weird and quirky, and it's like one of the best remembered issues of that era. I did not realize...
ever have wanted him to do more?
No, because he's not a more guy. That's not him. And so, like, he didn't do runs on comics. He came in and did a story. And so, like, that's kind of what I vibe on. But, like...
208 in 1984.
Thank you. I said in the early 200s, right? Between Miller
runs.
You
Miller, did. So, great.
Yeah, Miller is, like, 190...
I thought you meant the early 2000s.
I'm a huge Harlan Ellison...
I did not know this.
Yeah, I'm a huge Harlan Ellison prose fan.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, because I'm just a big sci-fi geek. And I had no idea about that. And, you know, I love what you said, because I don't think the answer to every cool author that you can think of going outside of their genre is, oh, I wish they had gotten a whole run. Sometimes I think it's great to just be like, it's cool that it happened, and it would not have been sustainable for more.
Well, but to that, so you talked about how excellent it is when an unlikely director comes in and directs a movie. You know what? But this being Overwatch and also Splatoon got me thinking, what about just kind of going full Fast and Furious and just changing genres every fucking movie? And what about if, like, the next Marvel movie is just a Squid Game movie, like, style? And what if
yes, we're not far from that. And
what if the Marvel movie after that is a whodunit, but like in the classic style of a famous whodunit, in the way that The Lion King, the umpteenth Disney animated classic, is a retelling of a Shakespeare work? Why can't there be a Marvel movie that basically mirrors Casablanca set on Hala? I'm not even trying to be silly.
I don't think you're being... I think that
Casablanca sounds kind of great.
And
so you... Go ahead.
Good. No, go for it.
You, as Marvel fans, aren't, you know, annoyed at the prospect of getting even further away from the concept of adapting the comics correctly?
No, we can't.
Where we
can't
are now, it's impossible.
We've lost that.
Move on.
What NICO is pointing out is actually the biggest thing that they have on DC right now, which is we got a decade plus of attempting to adapt comic stories and not always doing a bad job, doing a good enough job that like I'm mostly satisfied. I don't ever want to see Immortus impregnate Carol. So like the stories that we have left are, some of them are great and sure it would be really epic, but like, you know, we spent so much time with crazy Wanda. I would never want to do disassembled AVX, anything where
we
Wanda
achieved those already.
Yeah, I would never want to touch that. What Marvel has is exactly what Nico's talking about, which is like we could directly jump to just going all out with genre. Like that's actually, for as bad as Multiverse of Madness is for continuity, because Sam Raimi didn't watch WandaVision and nobody told him that he needed to pay attention to it. It's an incredible horror genre film. And Marvel has a lot more of that in their pocket, where DC has to spend the next decade basically like giving us just the straightforward from all of their stuff, because they just restarted their entire universe again. And now, and it's even crazier than that, because I was telling you guys in Creature Commandos, according to DC, is the start of the new era, the new universe, the James Gunn universe. But the first thing they do is reference Suicide Squad. So they're in a very messy place, and they have to spend the next decade making that believable, palatable, usable, marketable. Marvel is getting close to 20 years ahead of them and can now do basically whatever it wants. The thing that the three of us talk about all the time is how much more we want Werewolf by Night style 45-minute features, which they have 24 characters. I could spitball a genre film off the top of my head, from blaxploitation to kung fu movies to just like basic sci-fi fantasy, every genre. Howard the Duck exists. They can just do a straight up stupid comedy. They can literally do whatever they want at this point, and it nets them a bigger payoff for less risk doing a crazy genre shift than it does for DC, who has to adhere really closely to the conventions of every genre of the hero they're portraying. Because if they don't, it's just going to be even more confusing for audiences what we're getting by spending $21 a person going to these films.
And I think what we are doing with this branch of Marvel stories too, and what we've really, I think, just Deadpool and Wolverine alone has laid so much groundwork for the premise of it's all connected, it's all multiverse, it's all an ever self-perpetuating multiverse of stories that we can connect and disconnect and dip in and out of. So that you can do things like Hugh Jackman continuing to or not continue to play the role. I think everything that you're saying is so right, and especially with just the time that has been laid in. It is 17 years this May. Gosh, I don't remember when Secret Wars is going to be out, but it'll be almost 20 years since the MCU started. So yeah. Nico, you had something?
It's an evolving conversation, so I really want to reply to that. One of the things that I've kind of lost track of is like, which one was Kang Dynasty?
Yeah.
Which one is Secret Wars?
Yeah.
Which one is Doomsday? And
Doomsday is Kang Dynasty turned into Doomsday, and Secret Wars is still happening.
Secret Wars was always Secret Wars.
Which one was first and which one was second?
Kang Dynasty would come before Secret Wars, and now Doomsday is becoming before Secret Wars.
So no matter what, the end game payoff hasn't changed.
Yeah,
probably not by much. Yeah.
one of the reasons I actually really love what we just talked about is TK, when you were saying characters that are perfect for 45-minute Marvel Universe installments, one of the people that came to mind is like, oh, Elsa Bloodstone. Oh, wait, no, but she was in Werewolf by Night. Wait, no, it's the multiverse. That Elsa Bloodstone could be lost to us, just, not necessarily dead, but we don't follow her. But the actress gets to come back for a little bit more realistic in Elsa Bloodstone from a different universe that we've seen.
I mean, yeah, Marvel's in such a great place because it could still be Elsa Bloodstone. It could be that Elsa Bloodstone that we really don't have much from that story. And go for it.
I think there needs to be just a lot of, and I try to have it as much as, there's a line, but like ever since starting with Don Cheadle as Rhodey, there is some amount of forgiveness for the way these things turn out. I did not love a lot about Multiverse of Madness, but you know what? It is what it is, and I don't think it was the worst thing or worst story or or something you can't necessarily walk Wanda back from, the way a lot of stories that happen to her in the comics are the same way. And you sort of have to learn to deal with that when it comes to multimedia story that goes on for this long, that passes through that many hands.
To that, I just want to say you also have to learn how to deal with being swallowed and spat off a fucking cliff.
You really do. I love it.
Yeah.
We still won, not because of me, but we did. It's so wild because when I think about what I'm saying, we're back to kind of the same thing that I say to NICO every week when we do comics, which is like, it's actually wild how different these two companies actually are, given that they're the big two, and like, AT&T is no different than Verizon, is different than T-Mobile. But actually, Marvel and DC are really approaching these things from two different directions. And what I'm seeing right now is, for whatever problems I have with Marvel, in the same way that when we talk about comics, I always have a problem with, the way Marvel deals with women. DC's problems are obvious and its own, and DC isn't making better movies. They are just at a different place. So when you kind of talk about them and try and review them, it's a really different conversation. You're talking about a totally different entity whose goals are so different.
And with the movies, Marvel's become the standard. So anything else is offered as an alternative.
Yeah. It's how are you dishing on the standard? How are you doing something different than the standard? But Marvel's still setting the standard.
Yeah, I mean, and for so many years, the standard was DC's Superman movies, Batman movies.
Yeah. In the 80s, that's until the late 2000s, what we had was Batman Forever, Superman 2, like the Donner cut. Well,
by the late 90s, we had Spider-Man. Well, early 2000s, we had Spider-Man, X-Men. But one of the things I was talking about with Kevo is that I really want to watch all the Bat movies ever.
Yes.
I'll probably watch all the Superman movies ever because there's, I think, maybe as many.
Yeah.
I've seen them.
And I'll watch Flash. I guess I'll do a DC Universe watch. I've never done it. I've seen a number of the movies across different iterations of the franchises, but there are some really key films I've never seen as an adult. I don't know that I've ever seen Superman not on WPIX on a Sunday afternoon. So because there's movies that you just sort of accept that you've seen your whole life because you've seen them on TV. And I feel like there's a generation of people for whom that's the Marvel universe, the Marvel Cinematic Universe films, because the movies we're talking about are from the late 70s and, up through the mid 90s. But if this last week on Canada's Drag Race taught us anything, the 90s are literally just costumes now. So
And time is so funny when you put it like that, because honestly, by the time Doomsday happens, 2026, it will have been 7 years since Endgame.
wow.
And it will have been 20 years. Is it 2008? 2008 is when the MCU started.
Yeah.
So it'll have been 18 years since that old movie, Iron Man, with that old guy, Robert Downey Jr., first came out. So, like, for us, it is still, we were in college and beyond when this started. But for some people, this has been literally more than their entire lives.
Yeah, there are going to be people that are like 16 years old who grew up always being Marvel fans, 20 years old, who one of their first movies was, Iron Man. And the way that is transformative of how we engage with it. I know that there are generations of people who say that part of why they love Disney so much is those are the movies they grew up with, but they definitely fell out of love with Disney at the era at which they no longer have childhood memories of Disney, whether they still engaged with Disney properties or not.
Interesting. It's so funny. I feel like because I have childhood memories of Disney, there's always a thing. Like that's why I'm like always paying attention.
That's something KEVO and I have been talking about a lot lately. Everybody should bemoan the loss of trans representation in Disney programming right now, and we should all definitely be asking the company for better. But what I really want to say to a lot of these people that are like, oh no, where is it? Watch it. When it's there, fucking watch it. Like, actually show up.
I have debated, being obnoxious and making a post. I never want to seem like a shill. We worked for the company, so we know how the sausage is made. We don't have, the rosiest perception of what they do. But I get frustrated when I see people get mad about something like this, and I really would like to know where they were when High School Musical, the series was on, when half the cast of characters and actors were queer, along with the showrunner. Did you actually watch Strange Worlds, which was actually a very funny, interesting, clever movie that handled the topic of having a queer teenage son very well? Did you watch it, or did you just make fun of it not getting enough advertising? Were you aware of the Big Hero 6 short where Baymax encounters a trans man getting tampons? Like, they've been putting these things in. We can even make fun of stuff like the LeFou thing, or the lesbian moms in the background of Finding Dory. But like, they were there, and people really only neg this company, and it's just a little frustrating because I do appreciate the efforts, and I kind of feel bullied at times, and it sucks because I wonder if anyone was even going to watch this cartoon. You're upset that this was removed, but were you going to watch, or was it going to be another Strange Worlds?
And this applies to allies only, not people for whom this is their direct experience. We are talking to allies that say they are allies and then do nothing but complain about problems, but never actually stand up and contribute to the positive conversation or efforts.
And we were robbed. Never saying we were not robbed. That needs to always be said, that, this is not okay.
Not okay.
And I would point out too the thing that, like, as a comics person, it becomes kind of easier to experience day to day because you actually meet these people. Trans people work for Marvel. Trans people work for Disney, who are not doing their best, who are not doing what I wish they would do. trans people work for them and feel that way. And companies like Disney are enormous. They are countries unto themselves. And like our country, where we have trans people that are US citizens who are not treated well by the US government, but are also part of the United States in that way, where if you are a German person seeing how America is treating its trans citizens, you can't sort of talk about it in that way where we're all evil, because some of us are actually experiencing it, trying to do better, fighting against the power. And the same thing happens in enormous companies where, you know, people whose identities are being challenged by these companies are still working there saying, no, I'm trying to make things better. I'm fighting for my rights and for my access and to make it possible to be somebody like me, because I love whatever aspect of this company that I love. It is a very complicated conversation, and it's always important to be critical of the company. The company does not have feelings. The company does not need your unwavering support. But you also need to remember that sort of taking this blanket approach of there's no good to be had here ends up discounting people who you think you're trying to defend, who do feel there is good to be had here and kind of want your support in trying to have it. You might disagree on the fact that that's an effort worth trying, but that's kind of not your call to make. And for me, it's kind of all about supporting, you know, I know so many trans authors who write comics for Marvel who are frustrated by the lack of trans representation at Marvel, but are still trying to show up, pitch comics, who get jobs, who wish they were getting better jobs, but this is where we are. And you work with what you got.
And just to, sorry.
No, you can go.
I just want to kind of pull it to a topic that we can a little bit more firmly have a conversation on for a moment. I really feel like that about queer representation as a bigger picture at Marvel in general. One of the things that I think I hear a lot is there aren't enough queer superheroes. But you know what? I do go out of my way to buy the Pride issue every year. So you know what? When I critique it on air, I kind of feel like, as a queer comic book writer, as a queer person, as a comic book reader, as a comic book purchaser, and then as a person who says, I do put my money into these titles. There are books that I definitely read on Marvel Unlimited, not going to lie. But when I know that
you pay for Marvel Unlimited.
Yeah. When I know it's a make or break point, I do make sure to pick up the book as much as I can. And it's also not on me to support all queer art at all times. It's on all readers to do so, queer or not. But one of the things that because we support straight art, motherfuckers. So one of the things that I always wonder about is how many gays are like, they're not doing Billy and Teddy right. Guys, show me the fucking issues of any of this stuff you've read. There's no such thing as a fake fan. Period. Even if you are a wiki fan, even if your fandom starts and ends from Wikipedia knowledge, there is no such thing as a fake fan. However, it is then unfair to speak for the experience of those who have greater volume knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, I basically agree with that. I do think it's really easy to say they're not doing it right because I heard somebody tell me they're not doing it right, versus I've read every issue. This is how I feel.
That actually even does circle back in a way to the thing that I was going to say, which, and in regards to, I feel like there is, you know, a responsibility to kind of know what you're talking about if you are going to be so vocal, be so aggressive. A Disney example that I think of a lot, that I like to point out. Everyone loves the story of that Toy Story 2 person who saved the movie by accidentally having a backup copy of the movie when it was deleted And then everyone was super upset when she was fired from Pixar. She was fired from Pixar because her movie Lightyear bombed. She, the director, and the president of marketing at Pixar were all fired because people review bombed the movie for having two lesbians in it for like 2 minutes and for being woke for a million reasons. And I personally have not watched the movie. I read the summary. I read a lot of movies. Didn't think it sounded great myself. Didn't think it sounded as terrible as people made it sound. But that's what happened, and that's why that happened. And everyone talks about this woman like she's a saint. And when they know she was fired, are horrified. But what was the reason she was fired? Because people were awful about a movie she made. That's what's going to happen. And if you actually care about Galen Sussman, then, you know, have that awareness of the industry, of the movies that you're talking about.
And that's even like where I think the bigger part for me, where I find a lot of what's going on with things like Mufasa got like slaughtered at the box office this weekend by Sonic 3, where the reviews were both I love this and it's terrible.
Wait, for which?
Sonic. The
Okay.
reviews for Mufasa are there was no reason to make this, but good for you guys making another movie for no reason. The reviews for Sonic were this is messy. You guys could have thought this out a little bit better, but fun movie overall.
What's your timeline for seeing it, by the way?
ASAP.
Okay.
Preferably. But Sonic 3 already resulting in a Sonic 4 where Mufasa does not automatically result in a Scar is, I think, a little bit where the Marvel Universe could misstep in a way that the DC Universe is maybe, you know, trying to be wary of, but kind of falling into the same traps again. I feel like I'm excited to see Sonic because it's not beholden to a bigger picture and everything they add into it is just fun. I'm never afraid about going to a really dramatic Sonic movie. I understand that this one actually has some heavier tones. It's not rated NC-17. I'm not worried about it.
Right. Yeah, I think just like Shadow, there's probably like, you know, some amount of murder or something, and that's a little more than they've done so far. But that's still not, you know.
I mean, Sonic's also fantastic proof that like we're not all lemmings. Like it doesn't have to just be Marvel. It happens that Marvel actually is making the crowd pleasers, but like, you know, Sonic is making them too. I mean, we're not. There's more to this than just it's the McDonald's of entertainment.
Because like Alien, what a great year we had with Romulus.
Yes, the perfect example. Like Marvel does get a lot of it because they have that Disney money and they also have a lot of experience hiring the right people. And yeah, entertainment demands are a little simplistic. And you know, it's I mean, it's not all just that Disney Marvel is perfect and everybody else sucks. But Sonic is a really great example of like the underdog-esque competitor can absolutely win. You just kind of have to make something good.
And that's even like part of why I'm having a good time with Rivals and I'm not really getting like too angry about anything. There are days that I really want to throw my mouse on the floor. Ready to happen. There are times where I'm like, my accuracy rating is insane. This accuracy rating is so high it could be a credit score. Like, and it's thrilling and I'm so happy. That would never happen to me. I have the worst accuracy, but it'll be good sometimes. And I'm really kind of just willing to let it be bad too, because I feel like something that I haven't had an opportunity to be a part of is like the launch of a game like this. I've just never done online gameplay, not really my thing. But for this, okay.
And this is the example and the reverse example, because I have lived through a bunch of hero shooters. Overwatch is not a scrappy independent game. I mean, at this point, Blizzard is owned by Microsoft. For most of its run, they were owned by EA. But it is exactly what I was saying about Marvel, where like Marvel keeps making good comic book movies, so we all keep enjoying their good comic book movies. And, Sonic was a good comic book movie, or was a good video game movie, and that's why it's doing great where other ones aren't. Rivals, is it copying Overwatch? Sure, but Overwatch wasn't the first hero shooter. Overwatch copied Paladins as much as Paladins copied Overwatch, and Paladins is much more from a low budget studio. I think Paladins is fantastic, but Rivals took the lesson, Marvel, in this case, I'm going to say Marvel because it's NetEase, but like it's a Marvel contractor and Marvel was involved. Marvel took the lessons from a bunch of other people and did it better. This is working out better. People didn't pay for this. So the fact that it has a bunch of problems is a lot easier to stomach, because I didn't spend $60 on this. Marvel is not making the same promises that Overwatch made and then not fulfilling them. They'll probably get there. They'll probably start telling people we're going to do, we're going to drop down to 5v5 mode, and it's going to piss off all of the players, which is what Overwatch did. And now, because Marvel Rivals is doing so well, Overwatch is dropping back to 6v6. But in this particular case, Marvel saw that they had the heroes, they could do the shooter gameplay, and then they did a lot of the stuff that other hero shooters have done based on the critiques that people had about why those shooters were no longer good. And I think that is perfectly reasonable.
I saw an article on Game Radar that, and I think it was Game Radar, it might have been Game Inform, whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
And it said that the public has pretty much decided that the Switch 2 is going to be a success, period.
Which is funny, because I think it still might not be.
But the public has already decided they're going to buy it.
Yeah.
They're engaged. They believe in it. They love it.
It's also been over 7 years.
Yeah.
So they, there's a certain factor to which, we were already expecting this. Basically, in our minds, we budgeted for the fact that we would be buying this system.
Yeah. Whereas Sony or Xbox, or Sony or Microsoft, only one of them can also be a success in this period. One of them has to, logically, game market financially, not do as well. But it's kind of a toss-up, because Nintendo has this unfair advantage going in based on the goodwill of the Switch. I watch a lot of Did You Know Gaming, and I had no idea that the N64 was such a financial, complicatedly difficult thing to think about, because we think of it as this defining thing, but its polygonal value was so much lower. It was not the same machine that the PlayStation was. And that led to the N64 being on these more expensive cartridges as well, just not making as much money. But when we look back at it, it was defining. And when we think back on the Wii, defining, huge moneymaker. When we look back on the Wii U, not defining for anybody, but it should be, because of how many of its games are the launch games for the Switch and are the defining games for the Switch.
Yeah, I mean, it's so funny about the N64, because it really is one of those things where the other aspect of it is tastemakers will lead to a kind of false belief that everybody was all in. A lot of people had N64s, but not everybody did. And it was complicated. But a group of people who talk a lot and talk a big game were the people that had an N64. And it was very different than the Wii U, where like we kind of know that everybody had one, and we know that they were in old folks' homes so that people could bowl.
Well, and it's the way people always say to me that they remember reading that comic when it came out, and I'm like, what year?
Okay, you were not born yet, friend.
Exactly. That's about 37 years after it came out. I'm not trying to be an asshole. Just like you read it.
I mean, we've talked about that for the show before. Like, it's not even like a I was there and you weren't thing. It's like a none of us were there, and that can be okay sometimes.
Exactly.
We had a friend who insisted that they watched the Green Ranger miniseries live when it aired, and we were like, when you were 14 months old, you remember watching the Green Ranger miniseries live when it aired. Yeah.
And there's no convincing somebody. There was another thing where and this is just totally absolutely nowhere, but there was a thing where for many years people remembered that the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror in Disney's Hollywood Studios came forward out of the elevator shaft, shook a few times, and then moved back into the elevator shaft to drop you. And what they are misremembering is the door opening and a specific side of the road, I guess like billboard advertisement for it on Disney property that showed them hanging out of the elevator shaft. But really, the attraction never shoved you out. And there were people who would literally be like, I'll find my family's footage, you liars. And like,
I think on Family Matters, they made it seem like that happened too, but like, it was never any part of the actual attraction, but people insist.
And so
people
now
insist on a lot of stuff.
And so now you hear that that's how it was, and now it's less good now a lot. And so like, I'm always like, no, that's not the case. Please calm down. And like, I think it's kind of interesting that, you're talking about how Overwatch is already making adjustments in response to this. Like, for me, that is a sign of success.
Yeah, exactly. But what's so funny is Overwatch started with 6v6 mode and then dropped it for stupid reasons. And all Rivals did was just pick up this original mode they didn't innovate.
They just copied.
Yeah, but what's funny is, Overwatch copied them with the hero. Like, Overwatch's original characters, you can map every single one of those to a character created by both Marvel and DC Comics. And I love the Overwatch characters. It's okay to copy. It's just so funny. And so much of this is also, like, fans are gonna defend their fave property, and at the end of the day, like, we're all just stealing from Greek myths.
Oh yeah,
like, it's not don't worry about it. Yeah, absolutely. NetEase saw that everybody was disappointed about the fact that Overwatch had stopped doing 6v6, and they started theirs with 6v6. Overwatch thought, we'll make a hero shooter. How are we going to do heroes? Well, look at the vast selection of heroes that other companies have created, and we'll make things derivative of them. I don't even want to say derivative, because I don't think they sat there like, okay, this one's Scarlet Witch, but they thought to themselves, what defines a hero? Well, we know because these two companies for 60 years have been telling us what it does. So let's use that information and create some heroes. How did Marvel and DC create those heroes? Again, it goes all the way back to Greek myths and Sumerian myths. Sometimes literally, because those characters appear. Like, don't worry about who did it first. We're so far beyond that. Enjoy who's doing it right in the moment, and start asking yourselves why it's right for this moment. How long is the moment sustainable, and what do you do when you get out of the moment? and you have to recognize that, okay, it's no longer 2024 when Marvel Rivals came out. How is this game relevant in 2028?
You know, that's something that I keep wondering. If I don't have the numbers, and I'm sure they're out there, and somebody's going to be like, actually in the comments, and, you know,
yeah, please, I'm actually us. We're not.
Yeah, please, I'm actually me. I want the information. This is not a pride thing. Intelligence, knowledge, and learning should never be something you're ashamed of. But I wonder how Snap is doing. I wonder if it's growing its player base, if it's sustaining its player base, if it's losing a player base at a higher rate than it's gaining a player base, what the values on per player spending are. Not because like anything other than these are the things that'll come to define the ongoing success of the franchise. These are things that'll come to define whether or not we get more Marvel games, more Marvel mobile games, more Marvel card games. And sometimes it's not a great barometer because sometimes it's BuzzFeed selling hot ones so they can go AI, right? Like it's not always this thing is no longer successful. Sometimes it's
love that reference, Nico. Holy shit, I was bummed about that.
Yeah. It works.
You know, they sold it not for an altruistic reason to let this thing be its own thing, but because it makes too much money for them to justify the model of moving over to a predominantly AI writing design. So they needed to sell hot ones to its own thing so that they could make this switch. But like, I think, oh man, now I'm just so angry about the hot one situation again. But no, I think with one of the things with this game that I'm also like kind of like a little bit keen to and watching really closely, along with Snap, along with Contest of Champions, is what is also the tie back to Marvel? How much are they doing anything with this? Am I going to see, the original character Kahori appear at Marvel more from Contest of Champions, or original character Galacta from this appear more in Marvel? Like, what is also the payout ratio on the long-term longevity of these projects?
A fantastic question. And, I love that you brought up Snap because Snap is really interesting. It's in such a different zone. Snap is also fighting with another Blizzard property, Hearthstone. Hearthstone was kind of further in its journey of disappointing people when Snap came out. But I guess my point is like the hero shooter genre, there's actually a lot. There's also Valorant by Riot. There's still Paladins. Paladins is such a good game. Does not get enough love. And there just are other hero shooters. So the competition for Rivals is really different than the competition for Snap, which is just like, if you can be doing better than Hearthstone, you're doing great. But I'm still really curious about, like, is somebody else going to come into the card game space and take over? At this point, can anybody beat Snap or can anybody beat Rivals in the hero shooter space? Since Marvel, I think, is about to dominate for the next 3 to 5 years, what's everybody else going to do in that time? And how will that affect what Marvel does? If they achieve supremacy, are they going to be pleased with that? Or are they going to expect a certain financial impact? The biggest thing for me is like, I have questions that at the best of times, being the best hero shooter on the market, they can actually be getting the kind of financial return from this that Disney wants.
I saw a couple of videos because, as I continue to get more into different kinds of gaming videos, it all hits your algorithm. And I've seen like 4 to 5 different videos that are like, what really happened to Disney Infinity. And I just want to be like, well, it didn't sell.
Yeah.
What happened to Disney Infinity? It just didn't make the company the money that they wanted it to.
Right.
That's it.
And that could happen with this game too, everybody. Like 20 million people picked it up in the first month. Amazing. Love that so much. The game is free. The infinitesimal fraction of those people who bought skins. Yeah, I mean, like, at the end of the day, we don't know what the financial goals are. This game is absolutely going to be the dominant hero shooter for the next minimum 2 years. I think much longer than that, but that is just solely based on what hero shooters are available. That has nothing to do with how Marvel/Disney feels about spending money to keep this game going. And it's very possible that even if it is the most beloved, the most played, they're still going to say it is too expensive to keep running.
You know, because I even wonder what would happen if it turns out that DC has been working on their own this whole time, and DC Battle Crisis launches in February.
I love that pitch already.
It's, you know, equal to this in so many ways. And what if it has an edge? What if the skins are different in every map automatically? And so when you get put in the Wakanda map, you automatically get the Wakanda skin unless you have it set to be your default skin, you know, the one you pick.
NICO, I love this pitch. And keep talking. This is a fantastic pitch.
TM.
It would automatically make the DC one have a little bit more value if it's like you automatically get the Amazon skin. You automatically
listen, I'll get it way more specific than that. What if it's all based on Bat Fam kits? So you're just playing as Tim, or you're just playing as Damien, and each Bat person has a different, you know, a different loadout.
1,000%. I love that, because like what we're looking for is the opportunity to engage with the identity of the universe and with the mechanics of the gameplay. I don't need you to find a unique way that spitting ink is uniquely Marvel. I think it's really great that you found a way that's uniquely Rivals.
Yep.
And that's like kind of what we're talking about, that it feels like the DC universe is trying to come in a little bit, but look what we've already done for you. And DC Cinematic Universe, you haven't done it for me yet. So far, you've like conjured up previous iterations of things we love, but you're not producing anything yet. So don't tell me how great what you make is when you haven't done it for me. And that's where like Rivals automatically being like, right, but we're also going to borrow from Splatoon. That's the right energy.
Yeah, I have no problem with the fact that this mode steals from the game that I have played the most in this genre, because that is what you should do. And Splatoon is not original either. I mean, there's so much about Splatoon that is original, but it mostly has to do with like visuals and music. Like gameplay isn't original. There's just nothing new underneath the sun. And this was exactly the right move for this game to make, to show that they're thinking and playing around with, if not originality of concept, with originality of package for their particular audience. And again, none of this precludes the idea that they're going to have a sales call in 2 years and say, yeah, this is the most played hero shooter of all time. It's still more expensive to run than it makes us money, and that's not worth our time.
I have a question that is probably a thinker.
Go for it.
If all, you know, in a perfect world of how the MCU generally works and has worked for 20 years as the comic boys, and, you know, such aficionados of Marvel and now such connoisseurs of DC as you're becoming, I would be curious to know what you wish, because, you know, everyone just keeps throwing at anyone making a DC movie. Just do what Marvel does. Just copy what Marvel does. And to a degree, yeah, sure, just emulate what Marvel does. But DC isn't Marvel. DC is DC and Marvel is Marvel. And so I just would, love to know and hear, what you two would think would be the DC version of what Marvel does then.
For gameplay specifically?
I'm a film boy, so I mean films, but across
I think
whatever you mean there.
DC's animated universe is sharper than anything else they do, and I feel like it is on par with what Marvel does cinematically.
Yep. As somebody who has just been mainlining Creature Commandos, I could not agree with that more. I think it's so weird for as obsessed with Marvel is with its multiverse, DC's kind of just natural inclination to multiverse and to tell stories that are not in the same universe actually ends up constantly putting them in a better situation for storytelling and story consumption. And yeah, I mean, it's
a closed multiverse, sort of.
Yeah, or it's just kind of like a non-codified anything goes multiverse.
Yeah, I mean, I really think the other thing is that like they reflect each other so much because they have to. They're the two biggest cats in town. Even the other big companies aren't solid universes. And so I think that kind of changes the conversation a little bit.
Yeah.
But more than anything, I want to say, I love playing. I love getting a little bit more into this now that I have a better setup, better situation, better experience. And I've had such a great time playing myself that like I've learned so much from TK, and I feel like a better player from observing in a way that like I'm so glad you put this on because it this rocking around the Christmas tree I did I keep saying is like for Donkey Kong, right?
Yes.
This kind of reminds me of like watching my older cool cousin Robbie play Mario Brothers on his Nintendo and learning all the cool tricks and all the cool secrets, because like I actually do think this is something where you benefit like from reading multiple writers. You become a better writer because you have a better understanding of ways to say and do things. I actually think the more people I watch play Rivals, the better a Rivals player I kind of become as a result. So I've really been grateful, not just watching TK, but watching other people play, which I do a lot for platformers and RPGs. That's kind of like my thing. That's what I really enjoy watching as a rule. But I really enjoyed stepping into the world of Rivals and this format of gameplay. It's been just like a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a blast for me getting back into this because Splatoon 3 is kind of sundowning. And there I have some real hurt about how Nintendo invests in things in this very kind of closed system way. Overwatch completely broke my heart a long time ago. Paladins, God love them. I keep my biggest regret in life is that I've spent like a decade at this point being like, well, I'll play Paladins for 2 years and then I'll be like, well, High Res is definitely giving up on this game, and I'll walk away from it and I'll come back, a year later and it's still going. Not really strong. Strong wouldn't be the right word, but it's still going. Disney, Marvel, NetEase all have the energy to go for a really long time with this game in a way that I really want to believe that they will. I'm here for it. I'm here to support it and hope that it goes that way, and that, there's some really big esports connotations for this game. But I also feel like because all of the players are so big, if it starts to flag in any way, it'll be very apparent very early on, and I'll know to like let go a little bit, play it for fun and not so much for the hope of the ecosystem and the following of like esports players and like literally being able to watch it in bars, which I'm a maybe an outlier. I still don't know because I don't think I am, but when I talk about this, a lot of times I feel like I am. I love watching esports like at an arcade bar or like even just at home by myself. The biggest heartbreak for me with Overwatch was not how the gameplay was ruined for me as a player. It was that the gameplay was ruined for pro players, and watching Overwatch, like watching the professional league. The professional league is gone now, but before that, it just got worse and worse before they got rid of the league. And my hope is that Rivals can kind of take a lot of that back up and be a real player in the professional esports scene and give us all something that we can enjoy. My two favorite things are, my biggest one with these guys is watching Eurovision, which is the Marvel Rivals of music. And I'm already, it's December now. We've got 5 months, but I'm planning our, Eurovision 2025 weekend of just like fun and hanging out. But if it wasn't that, my other favorite thing to do is sit and watch esports, is to sit and watch people play competitive shooters, because I don't love League of Legends, I'm sorry, and I also don't love StarCraft, but I would be really excited to watch pros play this. So that's like what I'm kind of playing myself, treading water, waiting for the world of this game to come together professionally.
I love it. I can't wait to come back and do what we do best. Basically, this for drag queens on Sundays.
Yep.
And that's only what we do best on Sundays. We do many other things many other days of the week on this channel. Like I love that Wednesdays are our comic day, Sundays are our drag race day, and then Fridays or Saturdays, sometimes Mondays or Tuesdays, depending on the travel stitch. Everybody gets on. And we talk about the things that make us happy. And sometimes it's streaming these incredible games. And sometimes it's, just getting on and talking about nothing smart. And like, I had a great time watching somebody I think is terrific. God damn the area on this dude.
I just put this on because I think he's just so beautiful.
Truly.
Yeah.
A guy that I think the universe of getting to watch him play a game that I want to get better at. Two great deals. So Kevo, where can everybody find you till we come back tomorrow?
You can find me on the socials at Kevo Rayleigh. That's KEVOREALLY.
DK, how about you?
You can find me swimming in the ocean trying to find Talokan. Is that what it is?
Sure.
Okay. I'm just
his pad.
Yeah, I love Namor. I love Namor, and I want to kiss him all over. So that's where you'll find me. But also, like, if you want to message me on social media, that'll be at TK Elemental. Nico, where are you?
You guys can find me at NICO Action, NICOACTION, NICO Action Music on YouTube and SoundCloud at NICO Action Music, NICOACTIONMUSAC. You guys can check out all the different versions of this show at X is for Show, X is for Podcast, and HTML, Husbands Talking More or Less. We love making it for you. We can't wait to come back tomorrow when we'll be talking about Drag Race Canada, Drag Race Down Under. I'm sure a bunch of other.
You got a winner.
We do.
All right. Someone screamed.
I screamed and cried. So it was a good time.
I'm excited.
And let me think. So 3 things you guys can do for us: like, comment, and subscribe. We think you guys are fantastic. But speaking of that, 3 things you guys can do for yourselves, really important. Number 1, you guys can stay safe. It's a crazy world out there. Number 2, you guys can be brave. Because number 3, we want to see you guys evolve daily. Who you were yesterday, incredible. Who you are today, amazing. But who you are tomorrow, that's the dream. And we can't wait to see you then. So until then, like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll see your evolved, brave self then.